In 1470, the Archbishop of Milan needed money to fund his military campaign. He did not go to the Holy Roman Emperor. He did not go to the King of France. He went to the Medici Bank in Florence, to the office of a cloth merchant's son. He got the loan. He lost the campaign. He still owed the money. This is how power actually worked in Renaissance Europe. In 1397, Giovanni de' Medici opened a bank in Florence. What made it different from every other bank was one invention, the letter of credit. You deposited gold in Florence. The bank gave you a document. You took that document to London and withdrew gold there. No armed escort, no risk. Just a piece of paper backed by the Medici name. For the first time in European history, money could travel faster than people. For the merchants of Europe, this was not a convenience. It was a revolution. Trade that had been limited by the physical difficulty of moving gold could now happen anywhere the Medici had a branch. And the Medici had branches everywhere that mattered. In 1420, the Medici became the official bankers of the papacy. The Catholic Church collected revenues from every corner of Europe: tithes, fees, indulgences, taxes. Historians estimate that at its peak, the Medici Bank handled over half of all papal financial transactions. Half of the income of the most powerful institution in the Western world flowed through a Florentine counting house. And the Medici took their percentage of every transaction. But more importantly, the Pope now owed them, not in money necessarily. The Church was rich, but in access, in protection, in the political favor that comes when an institution needs you to function. When Cosimo de' Medici, Giovanni's son, was briefly exiled from Florence by political rivals in 1433, the Pope intervened on his behalf. Cosimo returned within a year. His rivals were expelled instead. In 1462, the Medici secured something that made their position nearly unassailable: the monopoly on European alum. Without alum, dye does not fix to cloth. Without dye, cloth is worthless. Without cloth, European trade collapses. Every textile manufacturer from England to Florence needed alum, and in 1462, every gram of European alum had to pass through Medici hands. They did not merely lend money to European industry, they controlled the chemical it could not function without. The Pope had given them the keys to the European economy. The Pazzi were another great Florentine banking family. They understood exactly what the Medici had built because they wanted it themselves. In 1478, with the knowledge and backing of Pope Sixtus IV, who had his own reasons to want the Medici weakened, members of the Pazzi family organized an assassination plot. The target, Lorenzo and his brother Giuliano. The location, the Florence Cathedral during Sunday High Mass. The timing, the elevation of the host, the moment when the entire congregation would have their heads bowed. The attack came simultaneously. Giuliano de' Medici was stabbed 19 times and died on the cathedral floor. Lorenzo was wounded but escaped through the sacristy, where supporters barricaded the door. The conspirators had expected the city to rise against the Medici. Florence did the opposite. Within hours, the Pazzi conspirators were being hunted through the streets. Lorenzo's response was swift and effective, and it demonstrated exactly where his real power lay. He did not primarily use soldiers. He used his banking network. Medici branches across Europe were instructed to refuse all business with Pazzi-affiliated merchants. Pazzi accounts were frozen. Pazzi letters of credit became worthless. Within 2 years, the Pazzi family was financially destroyed across every city in Europe where the Medici had a branch, which was every city that mattered. What did the Medici do with their money and their power? They bought the Renaissance, not as a figure of speech. Literally, Cosimo de' Medici commissioned Brunelleschi to complete the Florence Cathedral dome. the largest dome built since the Pantheon in Rome. Lorenzo de' Medici employed Botticelli, supported the young Michelangelo, and brought Leonardo da Vinci to his court. The art that defines Western civilization was produced on Medici credit. 3 members of the Medici family became Pope. Leo VII. Leo VI. Catherine de' Medici married the King of France and became queen. Her granddaughter Marie de' Medici also became Queen of France. A cloth merchant's family from Florence had, within 4 generations, placed its members on the throne of St. Peter and in the royal bed of the most powerful monarchy in Europe. They had done it without a single battlefield victory, without a single acre of land conquered by force, with ledgers, letters of credit, and the patience to wait for everyone else to need a loan. Lorenzo de' Medici died in 1492. His son Piero inherited the bank, but not his father's judgment. Piero extended enormous credit to the King of Naples, an estimated 70,000 florins, the equivalent of years of Florentine state revenue. The king had no path to repayment. Piero did it anyway for political reasons. The reserves that had funded Michelangelo, Botticelli, and 3 popes began to drain. The machine that ran on trust was being asked to trust people who did not deserve it. In September 1494, King Charles VIII of France invaded Italy with the largest army seen in a generation. He demanded passage through Florentine territory. Piero, panicking, without the credit relationships or political capital his father had built, capitulated immediately. He surrendered Florentine fortresses to the French without a fight. Florence erupted. The Medici had bought the city's loyalty for 3 generations with money and patronage. When the money ran short and the judgment failed, the loyalty evaporated in an afternoon. The Medici fell because they stopped being good bankers. The power they had built was credit, and credit depends entirely on the belief it will be repaid. Once that belief broke, everything the family had built across 3 generations ran in reverse. In 2 years of bad judgment, it was gone. The Medici had no army, they had no title, they had no territory. They had something more durable than any of those things. Everyone owed them. The question is not whether a family with no army could accumulate that kind of power again. The question is whether you would recognize it if they already had.